Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies as we continue with Part 2, History and Philosophy, from Master Mason Educational Proficiency Manual. Part 2, History and Philosophy. What is the significance of symbolism in Freemasonry? Freemasonry has been defined as a beautiful system of morality veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that our fraternity uses symbols to convey important moral lessons and principles. Symbolism, the art of representing abstract truths and ideas by concrete things, can sharpen our perspectives and push us towards a fresh observation of life, increase our understanding of the world and of ourselves, and excite our capacity for wonder and enlarge our appreciation for truth and beauty. What is the symbolism of the Temple of Solomon? The chief purpose of Solomon's temple was to provide a dwelling place for the Most High in the midst of his people Israel. The symbolism of the temple for a Freemason is founded upon the concept of man himself as a living temple for the enthronement of God within each of us. We recall the beautiful passage in Paul's letter to the Corinthians. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? Accordingly, each Mason should aspire to the same type of perfection in his temple of character, as Solomon sought for the temple at Jerusalem. And just as he sought out the most skilled craftsmen, we should not allow our individual mental, physical, and spiritual temple to be degraded by inferior workmanship on our part. What do we mean by the philosophy of Freemasonry? Freemasonry espoused many of the principles of the Enlightenment. For example, reason over superstition, even before they became broadly accepted, and lodges embraced the right of assembly, representative democracy, and freedom of conscience, thought, and speech, before these principles found acceptance in governments and constitutions. We believe in brotherly love, relief, and truth. We support justice and tolerance, and oppose tyranny and dictatorship. How does this philosophy translate into a code of conduct? Although each Grand Lodge is supreme within its jurisdiction and no person speaks for Freemasonry, there are certain defining principles of conduct. A Mason believes in a supreme being, but supports freedom of religion. A Mason follows a strict moral code, emphasizing honesty and fairness, focused on the golden rule. His word is his bond, and he deals fairly and honestly with all. He seeks to walk humbly in the sight of God, do justice, and love mercy. A Mason is a lawful and peaceful citizen, avoiding intemperance or excess. He strives to be a good husband, a good parent, a good son, and a good neighbor. A Mason values hard work and independence, but is unselfish, charitable to all, and ready to assist his brother Mason. What is meant by receiving master's wages? We get out of Freemasonry in proportion to what we invest in it. As we study its history and philosophy, as we associate with learned brethren, as we visit various lodges and meet the members, we gain personally and socially. A well-known Masonic author, Most Worshipful Master Carl H. Claudy, suggests that the wages of a Master Mason are the intangibles of love, friendship, respect, opportunity, happy labor, and association. What is meant when we use the terms worshipful, right worshipful, and most worshipful, and to whom do they apply? These are Old English terms used as a mark of respect, like honorable, the term we use to refer to judges and other senior officials, or venerable. There is no religious implication. These titles of respect are given respectively to the master or past master of a lodge, to the District Deputy Grand Master or past District Deputy Grand Master, and to a Grand Master or past Grand Master. When is a man truly a Mason? After a man receives the degree of entered apprentice, we will tell him he is a Mason. After he receives the degree of Master Mason, he enjoys all of the rights and benefits of Freemasonry. But in a larger sense, We do not really become a Master Mason until we have internalized the moral values and philosophy of Freemasonry and put them to work in our daily lives. Our ritual teaches us to continually strive to improve our character. We seek to lead by example, act honorably towards our fellow man, help in our communities, and seek to improve society in general. Are Masons permitted to wear Masonic jewelry or symbols in public? Yes, many Masons in the United States display membership proudly, with Masonic signs on their cars, emblems on their caps, shirts, and jackets, and with rings on their fingers. Masons in some countries do not display their Masonic membership in public. When was the Grand Lodge of Virginia formed, and who was the first Grand Master? The Grand Lodge of Virginia is the oldest independent Grand Lodge in the United States, for it was never a provincial Grand Lodge, nor was it ever under the authority of a provincial Grand Lodge. It has been continuously under the authority of the Grand Master of Masons in Virginia by the sovereign will of the craft. The first Grand Master of Masons in Virginia was Justice John Blair Jr. of Williamsburg Lodge No. 6. He was elected by a convention of delegates from the several Virginia lodges on October 13, 1778. He was installed into that office on October 30th of the same year. We date our history of the Grand Lodge from the date of his election. A history of the beginnings of our Grand Lodge can be found in the Virginia Methodical Digest and in almost every edition of the Proceedings of the Grand Lodge of Virginia. How has Masonic law developed in Virginia? The basic law rests upon the old charges and the constitutions of Masonry, as these laws were compiled by Reverend James Anderson, George Payne, and John T. Desagree around 1722 or 1723. Our own Virginia law began with these and has expanded as times and circumstances have required, until our present system of jurisprudence has evolved. The original Book of Constitutions was adopted by the Grand Lodge of Virginia in 1791. It is divided into 6 chapters. The first chapter has sections concerning God and religion, government and the civil magistrate, private qualities and duties, and the proposing of new members. The second chapter concerns a lodge and its government. The third concerns Grand Lodge. The fourth, the election and duties of Grand Lodge officers. The fifth concerns Grand Lodge charity, and the sixth concerns grand visitations and communications. The reading of the Book of Constitutions is recommended to every brother who comes into the craft. What is the Methodical Digest? The legislation passed at the Grand Annual Communication and all decisions of Grand Masters adopted by Grand Lodge are codified in a book called the Virginia Methodical Digest, which any Mason can obtain from the office of the Grand Secretary of the Grand Lodge of Virginia. The Methodical Digest is divided into 5 sections which deal with Grand Lodge, the subordinate lodge, the individual Mason, Masonic offenses, investigations, charges and trials, and the life membership in perpetuity plan. In addition, there is a section on decisions of Grand Masters concerning cornerstone ceremonies, funerals, Masonic home, and veterans' emblems, a section on Grand Masters' edicts, and one on standing resolutions. What are Masonic offenses? Masons in Virginia are required to support the established government, obey the civil law, keep inviolable the mysteries of the order, preserve and obey the laws, resolutions and edicts of the Grand Lodge, observe the ancient landmarks of Masonry, and discharge their duties and obligations to their families, to each other, and to mankind in general. Willful failure to comply with any of these requirements is a Masonic offense. How are Masonic charges made? Masonic charges may be brought in only one lodge for the same offense, and then through the process of accusation, investigation by a committee which the worshipful master will appoint, and the formulation and presentation of the charges itself at a stated communication of the lodge. A trial commission is then appointed, and its judgment can be appealed to the Grand Master. Additional information on Masonic trials can be found in the Methodical Digest and in a Grand Lodge publication on Masonic trials. If found guilty of a Masonic offense, what can happen? If found guilty, a brother may be subject to reprimand, suspension, or expulsion from the fraternity. What are some of the roots of anti-Masonry? Dictatorships have regularly opposed Freemasonry because we support freedom and democracy. Other groups have opposed Freemasonry because we welcome men of all religions. In addition, some individuals espoused anti-Masonic views simply to make money by producing anti-Masonic books and videotapes or appearing on anti-Masonic television programs. Others have opposed Freemasonry because they do not have the facts about what Masons do and what our organization represents. Was there really a political party in the United States that was opposed to Freemasonry? Although Freemasonry played a key role in the founding of our nation and enjoyed a very positive reputation in the 1820s through the 1840s, a large group of people came to believe that Freemasonry was a bad influence. The triggering event was a claim that a man named William Morgan had been kidnapped and possibly murdered by Masons in northern New York State because he was threatening to write a book disclosing the secrets of Freemasonry. No one is sure what happened to Morgan, but many people came to believe that Masons had acted in ways that were contrary to law and the democratic ideals of America, and they founded an official political party called the Anti-Masonic Party in 1826. This party achieved some success in electing members of Congress, state governors, and other public officials in the New England states, New York, and Pennsylvania. During this period, Freemasonry fell into disrepute and was almost eliminated in America, but it began to recover starting in the 1840s. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.